very, very excited to tell you what has happened, and that is Pastor Nerren is free, and we have the pastor on the phone with us right now. Pastor, you must have just gotten off the plane.
Yeah, I just got off the plane about an hour ago, Jay.
So, Pastor, we had 200, I'm looking at right now, 200,000 people sign the petition for your release, praying for you. Of course, CC Heil working tirelessly on your effort. Explain to people what happened. I mean, you were over there doing mission work. Explain to everybody what happened. I think hearing from you would be great.
Yeah, I'd be glad to do it. I just want to say thank you to all those people, though. Thousands and thousands of people praying kept me alive and kept me going, especially Cece. I talked to her almost every day for the last 7 months. There were dark times when she bailed me out and talked me through it. So I appreciate all the prayers and everything everybody did. October the 3rd, I left Nashville going to India on the way to Nepal. A friend of mine in India was receiving a party and an award for 25 years of children's service. So I was going through India to do that for 3 days and then on to Nepal, where I've been going for 20 years. Went through the airport and customs 1 in the morning. It was during their festival, so there was very few people working there. Couldn't find customs agents. Finally got to a security agent. We checked in with him, declared the money, talked to 4 different people about the amount of money that I had with me. They cleared me to go to Bagdogra, which was another airport. When I reached Bagdogra, they were waiting for us right outside the plane, took us into custody. And the original problem and the original concern they had in Delhi was, are you a Christian and are you going to see Christians? And, of course, it's a huge story that I can't tell all, but I was arrested in Bagdogra, spent 6 days in an Indian prison because I was coming to meet Christians in India. It eventually turned into this whole thing about the money, but in the beginning it was just Christians and Christians. Me being a Christian pastor, going there to meet with Christians. And, of course, they built all kinds of stories and legal things about I was there.
They always do.
To conversion.
They always do.
The money was there. I was taking the money to build an orphanage and many, many, many different details. One of the customs guys made it simple to understand. He said, we've been ordered by the central government to crush Christianity, to stop you Americans from bringing money here, and to eliminate Christianity. And we're going to do that.
So, Cece, we've handled a lot of these cases over the decades, really, and even in the last couple of years. And it's always about the faith. It's always about Christianity. And then the turnaround is, and it's certainly the case here, was then they try to turn it into some kind of criminal action.
Absolutely. They can't admit that, it's persecution of Christians or religion, so they spin it. And the charges that they brought against Pastor Nerren were a complete sham. There was no way that he could be guilty of what they had charged him with. And they knew it from the very beginning. And, we're just so blessed because, like you said, Jay, this administration and the president deserves our thanks for sure, because they make U.S. citizens a priority. And then we have other people that I do need to thank as well. The National Security Council Senior Director for International Religious Freedom, Sarah Macon, Senator Marsha Blackburn, and Senator James Langford and their staff. They all worked with us tirelessly in the mornings, early mornings, late nights, weekends, holidays. And then, of course, Ambassador Juster, Consul General Parker, Senator Alexander, Representative DeJarlais, Representative Heiss, and Representative Green. They were all champions for this cause and deserve our thanks.
This was a cause to be a champion for. And Pastor, what was your reaction when finally on that Friday the judge came in and you got the order? We were able to get the order through the council, the Indian council that was hired. What was your reaction?
Cautiously optimistic. I had been to court 5 times over 6 months and was supposed to be released to come home every time to bring up another charge or another twist. And those last few days were that way. I was supposed to meet the judge on Monday. Judge didn't show up. Supposed to meet him again on Tuesday. The customs people didn't show up. And then on the 3rd day, finally they all came together and didn't have the right documents and had to go back to court on Friday. And when they did release me, I thought, well, this will be another trick or a twist, because they tricked me and tricked me and tricked me and robbed me and robbed me. And finally, the release, I'm still waiting for it. I'm sitting here in
Well,
the
you've only
airport.
been on the ground a couple of minutes, so it takes a little while to sink in that it's the ordeal's actually done. But look, you remain strong. We appreciate that. We appreciate you calling in. And again, it was our privilege and honor to have represented you in this unbelievable situation that unfortunately is happening. What's the situation? I was going to ask you this also, Pastor, while I have you. What's the situation for you mentioned that the immigration customs people are saying our job is now to crush Christianity. What is the situation on the ground for Christians in India? We have an office in Pakistan, in Lahore. We don't have an office in India. So we know what's going on in Pakistan for Christians. What about India?
India's Christians are being persecuted regularly. When President Trump was in India, there's lots of news about the Muslim massacre that happened in Delhi. But on that same weekend, 200 Christian pastors were killed. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Christian pastors and their wives were taken out of their house, tied to a tree in the front yard while President Trump was there, and was beaten. They burned some of their houses and burned tons of their churches. But they're killing them. They're doing everything they can to drive them out of the country. It's a very, very hostile, very, very complicated place to be a Christian.
Yeah. Well, Pastor, we're glad that you've ministered there, and we're really glad that you're back home with your family. Thank you for your ministry. We appreciate it so much. Thanks for being with us, Pastor.
Thank you for everything y'all have done. It's been a great help.
Thank you. Cece, I want to tell you something from all of us. I know how hard you worked on these cases, and I don't know if you were on earlier when I said the hours. Seems like every one of these we get, it's usually a 12-hour time difference. And I know this was a lot of late nights and a lot of hopes and then dashes. And in a sense, it was as complicated as any we've done. It was I'm thinking about Sayed Abedini's case out of Iran, Pastor Brunson out of Turkey. All have their unique aspects. What do you what was the unique one here? Here it was another one where we had a U.S. ally.
Yeah, it was really discouraging because, like I mentioned, the charges that were actually brought against him factually could not be. So to be guilty of evading a duty, the duty that you evaded had to exceed $50,000. The duty you exceeded. And the duty here we were talking about was $3,000 or less. So according to the straight language of their own law, he could not have been arrested. He could not have been put in jail. He could not have had his passport taken away or been detained for the 7 months that he was detained. But we never got a chance to put forth our side ever. Not even in a fake way where, I think in Brunson we were able to present it and, it wasn't taken or it was just dismissed, but we were never able to bring that fact up, that there's no way that he could, that any of this was right. And I think that was the most frustrating thing. And then again, like we, see in all these cases, they'll have a day in court and then the next one will be a couple of months and the next one will be a couple of months. And in this case, Pastor Nerren's next court date would have been September. So the next date we would have had, if he would have stayed there, he would have been over there for almost a full year without ever being able to present his defense, which was a perfect defense.
I'm gonna say this again. I want to quickly go to We'll take your calls, by the way, at 800-684-3110, 1-800-684-3110, and we'll talk about this. We're going to talk about the stimulus. Harry Hutchinson will be joining us in the back half hour, but we'll talk about this for another segment as well. Than, we'll get into it in more detail coming up. I'm going to take a call when we come back from the break, but talk about the work that you and CC coordinated on Capitol Hill. That's a very important component to this.
Yeah, there are always two very important components to these cases, Jay. One, of course, is the participation of ACLJ members. 200,000 of them were participants in this case. But sometimes the publicity of these cases will be more or less depending on what is needed in a given situation, Jay. But what you always need is the unified voice of the United States government. And you heard CC allude to this. This administration has done this better than any previously, and it starts at the very top. President Trump has made this a priority. He has instructed the vice president to make it a priority. He has instructed instructed Ambassador Brownback to make it a priority. So really all levels of the U.S. government, Jay, know that this is something the United States is going to put an emphasis on, even when it means, economic talks or other things might take a back burner, so to speak. They are going to focus on bringing American citizens and wrongfully held prisoners home. And that was the case in this situation. And I agree with Cece. Having Pastor Nerren's family come to the United States Senate and meet with the senators, put a face in front of a story and in front of a person, in front of a decision maker, Jay, makes all the difference in the world.